Hi there, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Wild Indiana Live on this Thursday evening. We're glad you could join us. I am here with Ben Shadley. Some of you may know him, some of you may not, and with Don Cranfill. And if you've been following Wild Indiana at all, you know Don. Well, we're here for a very special announcement, and I'm going to get to that right now. This will be the last time I get to say I'm the publisher of Wild Indiana. It's been an incredible, wonderful, interesting, and occasionally aggravating ride, and the time has come to pass the torch. So I thought we would make that announcement live on Facebook and YouTube tonight, and we will reminisce a little bit about some of the fun stuff we've done over time, and we'll get to hear from Ben Shadley. So I got to say, going into this, Ben contacted me out of the blue. I was very surprised and wasn't even sure if he was serious, and he was deadly serious about taking over Wild Indiana. I've had Wild Indiana since 2001, I believe, and we've had the print magazine that started in 2015. We've been all digital the last couple of years, but if you're familiar with Wild Indiana, you realize that I'm also now the editor of Guns Magazine, a national shooting magazine, the sister publication to American Handgunner, and I've been there exactly 2 years. And in those 2 years, I am busier than I've ever been in life, and Wild Indiana, unfortunately, has just had to kind of sit on the sidelines. I never wanted to get rid of it or put it out of its misery, but because a lot of folks still visit it and look at the content there, but I just didn't have time to deal with it. So when Ben called, you talk about the right thing, the right person at the right time. I'm really excited about this. It's kind of like letting your baby go off to school or whatever, but I think Wild Indiana is in great hands with Ben, and I'm looking forward to a future of really great things. So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ben. What is tomorrow going to bring?
Well, thank you, Brent. First of all, you've been very kind in your intro, and I hope that you're right, and plan on living up to your kind expectations there. But yeah, tomorrow for Wild Indiana looks very much like Wild Indiana today. There isn't much that's going to change about Wild Indiana for me. The foundation that you've built with this site and the community is the important part. And that's why I had an interest in picking it up and taking it further forward. From my perspective, maybe you and I are kind of on, opposite planes. I'm at a point in my life where I can take the time and the energy to go ahead and invest in Wild Indiana and continue with the building of the community and the fantastic content that you guys have been able to put out for the last, 20 years,
Yeah.
So from my perspective, a lot of what's going to happen in the very near future is looking, learning, really getting to know this community that you guys have put together, and then going from there. So I don't have any bombs to drop. Are things going to be different? Maybe, but ideally they would be different in a positive manner that just comes from paying attention and moving forward in a good way. So nothing crazy, except that this is my full-time job. This is what I've chosen to do moving forward, and you'll learn more about me, and hear more from me than maybe you want to in the coming days, months, hopefully years. But this is my passion. This is something that I've been into both personally and professionally for going on a couple decades. So this is something I'm thrilled about, and honestly, I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to pick this up and take it forward. So nothing crazy, but this is kind of the beginning, I would say, of a new chapter of the same book that you started.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to, and you hit the word passion. Everything else aside, Ben, you've got a passion for this. You're well versed in the outdoor field. You've got a long tradition of being very active in the outdoor field and an outdoor communicator.
Yeah.
So I'm just thrilled beyond belief that you are taking the helm of Wild Indiana. Yeah. So I've got to mention our other friend here, Don Cranfill. He has been my left or right-hand man ever since we started the magazine, and we've had quite a few adventures together. Most of them were a lot of fun. Some of them were a bunch of fun, and then a few of them weren't all that enjoyable. So Don, good evening. Thank you for joining us on this changing of the guard of Wild Indiana.
Good evening, gentlemen. It is. It's an exciting time. Very
Yeah.
exciting. Ben, congratulations. Welcome aboard, and just tell me what to do, and I will support you in every way I can. I'm so excited
Well,
for what you're doing.
I appreciate that, Don. I couldn't be more pleased to have your support and have the continuity of someone who's been on the team, for such a long time, to kind of continue the magic that has been sparked, going forward. So, I'm looking forward to doing some serious learning here in the near future. Yeah.
It was the company vehicle you promised me. That's why I stayed on board.
Yeah, I guess the question is this a Mercedes, or were you thinking more of, or are you more of a domestic guy and you think a Cadillac?
G-Wagon.
Okay.
I get to keep the jet though, right? The Wild
Well,
Indiana jet.
How many miles a year are you planning on flying, though? That's the question. So, yeah, G-Wagon jet. Yeah, we should be good. Thanks, guys. Let's close this now. Yeah.
Well, Don, you've got a favorite word you always use that I'm surprised you didn't pick up. Is it condolations?
Well, no. When Brent called me and told me what was going on, it was a bittersweet moment. It really was, because I knew we've talked at length about it, and Brent has expressed it. It's a lot like watching your kid go off to college, because they're out of the nest and all you can do is watch from that point on. And it's, anytime a friend of mine gets engaged, I always wish them the same thing. Congratulations.
Be careful what you wish for. Now it'll be a great ride, Ben. And then there's that one or two moments where I used to have hair, I used to have a lot of hair, but it's been fun.
These are plugs anyhow. But no, those are fair. If I didn't have a special spot in my heart for this business, and this subject matter, I wouldn't even mess with it,
Yep.
But I think we can all say the same thing in that regard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you aboard. And the other half of this conversation, we're going live tonight, is we wanted to talk about some of the fun stuff that's happened with Wild Indiana. And I'll open the floor to you first, Don. Any of the many video sessions, fishing trips, squirrel pooping events, any of those that really stick out for you?
I'd like to be able to point to one thing, I'm just going to be a big sentimental sap. This whole adventure, there's not one part of it I wouldn't trade. The frustrating times, we got all the kinks worked out. We're going to do it now, and then we find 3 more kinks. Those were the reason Brent's forehead showing. I spent many hours watching him do this while he figured out technical glitches, but we overcame every one of them. And after all the frustration, it made the interviews, the adventures, the cold temperatures, the rain, whatever it was, it made it all worth it. The 3 a.m. Infrared shots down at the duck draws was a fun time. But I wouldn't trade any of it at all. It's just been a great, the whole roller coaster ride. But the one sweet moment that I got to bring up is I will never ever forget watching or being up on top of the bank carrying gear, thinking the day was over, and hear Brent yell, "Grab the camera!" When Reverend Peyton had as he calls it, a creek donkey on the last cast down at Harrison Spring.
That was
we
funny.
Had some fun adventures with Rev, and we did get back down, got the camera rolling, and did manage to get him some pictures so he could prove the existence of this, that there are creek donkeys.
Well, that was a great time, but he also, and I don't think we put this in the video, he grabbed a big handful of water from Harrison Spring and just, oh, that's delicious. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord, we just canceled 6 months of the tour with Giardia, but he never got sick.
Yeah, he did fine.
Well, you mentioned, Don, all the live shots we did. We've done a lot of video too, but we did a lot of live shots, especially at the Indianapolis Boat Sport and Travel Show, and we've been great partners with the Renfros, and we've had a lot of fun adventures there. We could tell stories about that all night. Probably one of my favorite was the famed angler Ted Takasaki. great guy. He came by, we talked. He even stayed longer than he was supposed to. Just a really cool guy. Everything was good. He left. He gave me his cell phone number. I'm thinking, this was just a good thing here. And my brother was running the board at that point, and he was doing the graphics down at the bottom. And I was just saying, man, that was great. And I just feel really good. And he kind of goes, well, there was a little problem. And I said, what? He said, well, it's kind of a big problem. I said, well, did it not go out, or did something not work? He goes, well, did you say his name's Takasaki? I said, yeah. Well, I think I identified him on the lower third, we call it, as Ted Yakasaki. So I never heard back from Ted after that. So
nothing
Ted,
like insulting top tier fishermen.
Exactly. So Ted, I never got a chance to say, I'm really sorry about that. It wasn't my fault, but I'm the boss. So everything was my fault. But I felt really bad because we had this wonderful day, and then we realized we didn't even identify him properly. So
Shotgunning interviews one after another like that is, that took a lot of patience and a lot of trial. And I got to hand it to the Renfros that after we did it that first year and they started wrangling the talent, it was knowing who you had next and where to go get them. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. But I did wear a pedometer 2 years ago, and it was my job to run to the booth and run them back, and 14 miles in a weekend of running guests all around the state fairgrounds. Right? But you get to have a lot of fun conversation along the way with them, get to know some really neat people.
Absolutely. And, I made a list.
Let's bring Ben back into this with a memory.
What the memory that we might have had, what was that, 2 years ago? Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah. I just wanted a chance to just ask for my shirt back.
Well, yeah. So I almost ended up on camera with Wild Indiana, and that was at the archery trade show, I believe, in
yes,
right downtown.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. So we had spoken, and yep. Don and I think we're gonna, I forget exactly the setup, but you were gonna host and push it to me, and we were gonna chat about something, and we were there the day before, I think, that we were supposed to do some of the shooting, and honestly, I had I guess you would say I was inconsiderate enough to have had a pregnant wife who gave birth the next day. So I wasn't able to show up due to the fact that we were at the hospital, delivering, our first child, my son, Charlie. So I was almost, a member of the Wild Indiana team prior to this, but such things like childbirth got in the way. I would call that a pretty significant memory, maybe more for me, than for you guys, but I still have Don's shirt. And it has a certain musk to it, but I kind of like it. It just kind of reminds me of Don. So
those shirts have been on many, many fishing adventures. So they have their own.
Yeah, I would say you guys are familiar with the scent of deer lure. The stuff you put on when you're trapping for muskrats, like the kind of stuff that you might drop in the area, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Ode bottom of the backpack.
Yeah, something like that. But we'll see about getting that back to you.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Well,
the almost face of Wild Indiana has taken over, and that's the irony I saw in it when Brent told me who it was. It was like he was so close to being in the fold, and honestly, I was kept in the dark a little bit, and then when he told me who it was, I couldn't have been happier. And you kind of, we all know each other from Hoosier Outdoor Writers Association, first of all. So, it's not like Ben just wandered in. We've all been orbiting around one another with other projects for years. As a matter of fact, just thank you, Brent, for, that I'll never forget that first day picking up, newspaper boxes in my backyard that when we were putting boxes out on corners.
Yep.
Brandon Butler called me and said, hey, this guy's going to be stopping by and picking up a bunch of newspaper boxes that I know you went out to your backyard, so help him load them. And I told him he'd be a fool if he didn't get you on board. So that's how it all started for me. Really excited for this. Hopefully it's at least another couple decades of Wild Indiana.
I hope so.
Well, that's the plan. Yeah, this is not a short-term project as far as I'm concerned. And that's a good point, Don, is that we all have known each other for a long time. It's, it's the whole state, but it's also a relatively small world with organizations and the DNR and the outdoor media. I guess you would call it kind of the collective. So yeah, I don't know, Brent, I've known you for what, 20 years? I mean,
Yeah.
as far as things go.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, so this is not a new relationship that has fostered this, this change in ownership and publishing for Wild Indiana, which I think is great. I think that's important.
Well, I truly think from a coverage standpoint and from our readership, it's going to be pretty seamless. Actually, you're going to take it probably even better directions than what we were doing. So I'm just so excited about this. But, when I'm thinking back on some of the memories we've had, like Don already mentioned, the 3 a.m. duck check-in, which, yeah, it was a fun time, but getting up and leaving like at 2:30 in the morning to go film guys standing around in the dark. I don't know that I'm going to volunteer for that again.
It was literally, you could not see your hand in front of your face. There was no way I knew that video was going to come out. And I was a believer in infrared after that, because there we were in shades of green, and you honestly could not see your hand in front of your face.
Yeah. But, I've got to tell the little Timmy story.
This is Legion, right? This is legend among the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That it was a fishing show in Johnson County. Do you remember the name of it? I think they still do it.
Yeah, they've moved the location though.
Yeah.
But fishing show at the county fairgrounds.
Yeah, we were doing a live shot, and I don't even remember who I was talking to. And I think the video's out there someplace. But anyway, we had a full crew that day. Scott Weaver was there. My wife was there. I think we had 1 or 2 other guys helping us. So we had the full meal deal, the lights, the cameras, all this. So we were doing a live shot, and I was standing in front of a boat from a dealer on a trailer. And this gentleman was talking about fishing or something. And I remember thinking, boy, his breath smells really bad. I mean, really, really bad. And I was trying not to, acknowledge it with my involuntary, body reactions or any of that. But I kept talking to him and, yeah, okay, great. And I just kept thinking, my goodness. And I noticed commotion behind the camera, not only the camera team, but like everybody. And they're kind of looking around and people are kind of doing this. And I can't figure it out. But again, we're doing live. So, you got to keep going. So we finished the interview and I say, thank you. And then I can't remember if it was you, Don, or Scott, but somebody just took off running, just screaming, laughing. And everybody else is bursting out laughing. And what had happened was, in the boat behind me, on the other side of the boat, a father had put a kid we call little Timmy into the boat to walk around. And this is just barely on the edge of the frame, so you can't really see it. But I got the play-by-play from all you guys later. Timmy, who was probably, what would you say, 3, Don? Maybe?
Probably
yeah.
About that. Yeah.
Timmy got into the boat and walked around for a second as I'm going live. And then he did what all us parents know is called making a boom boom. And he made a major production out of it. The red face, the fists, all this. And this is going on right behind me, literally. And that was why I thought this gentleman had terrible bad breath, because Timmy was taking care of business, as they say. So just as I finished the interview, I guess the dad grabbed him and literally carried him like a football and just ran out of the building. And I thought, that is television for you right there. A toddler making a boom boom right behind you.
The unvarnished truth. Yeah.
From my perspective, it was Brent held his composure like that was just sheer, to quote Jeff Foxworthy, it was sheer pandalarium all around him. We all knew what was going on. There was a little triangle of a wedge between a wall and where they had a boat at like a 45-degree angle. So Brent was stuck in this little triangle, and the boat was a wonderful backdrop. And just as we went live, this fella scoops the kids over there throwing a fit, wanting in the boat. He scoops them up and sets them in. And Scott and I are making eye contact. We're just waiting on the kid to upstage Brent like they tend to do. And, and behind the scene there, inside the boat. and he proceeds to walk right over behind Brent. And as soon as he put his hand on that gunnel and clinched, I knew what was happening, and I lost it. So Scott's running the electronics. He can't move. I'm kind of working as a floor producer, and I go around the other side, and I'm trying to sneak around without getting into the shot and give Brent a cue. And he's just giving me the wide eye, like, what? The second that
what hand signal do you do?
That's
for
what was
that?
going through my mind the entire time.
What is the official hand signal for that? Yeah.
But I'm not kidding. There was green vapors coming off of that kid. It was horrid. And Dad, about halfway through it, figured out what we were trying to show Brent, and he was mortified. So yeah, the second that shot was over, because he's quietly over there going, "Get over here, just get over here." And the kid runs back to Dad, and they were out the door. But Brent never cracked.
It was well, I didn't really know what was going on other than this gentleman had really, really foul breath. But it just reminded me of something else. The very first time we went live at the Boat Sport and Travel Show, it was in our little booth. And I'm not even sure if you were there, Don. I think it was just my wife helping me with the computer and the camera and all that. And it was right after the show opened. And they've got what they call pipe and drape, which is literally pipes and the drape. And that's what makes the booths. So I'm really nervous, and I'm not sure this is going to work, and blah, blah, blah. And okay, here we go. And we're going live. Hey, we're blah, 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 blah. And right at that moment, the inflatable kayak guy on the other aisle, behind us, you
right
were
behind
there.
The drape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody knocked a kayak over, which led to this chain reaction, and literally a kayak goes shooting completely through the pipe and drape into the next booth right next to us and flattens everything.
Knocks over their tripod with their
everything
display on it, which just clang, clang, clang. Everything was falling. It was again sheer pandemonium.
Yeah, and I was proud of myself though. I'm shell shocked and looking at the video, but I'm like, I'm not sure what happened, but it sounds like maybe an airplane just hit the Coliseum. So, yeah, that was like a WKRP episode. If you remember WKRP, in slow motion, I just see this kayak shooting through the pipe and drape, and then just everything starts falling and people running. And hey, it's live TV. What can you say?
Yep, made for good TV.
Like we need more insurance for this kind of stuff,
I didn't mention that, did I? The liability.
Yeah. What's the policy? Does that come?
There
with
were
it,
a lot of
is that,
interesting faces that came through those booths.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of bloopers too, and I wanted to share this. It's a promo we did for the 2017 Sport and Travel Show. This shows the high level of professionalism of Wild, Indiana.
Before you switch over to that, I'm going to interrupt.
Okay.
Let me hear you say it. Bamboo fly rods. Just say it.
Here you go.
Hi, I'm reaching puberty.
So what? So I don't know what to say next. Located in blah blah blah. Probably one of the world's foremost experts on bamboo blah 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 blah. Bamboo fly rod. Bamboo fly rod.
Sorry.
Hey everybody. On bamboo fly fishing rods, we're going to talk to him. I did not say that right.
I'm a gangster.
Blah 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 blah.
And all our glory.
That is the level of professionalism you get with a Wild, Indiana.
The bar is high, gentlemen. The bar is high.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's one more story I do want to share, and I got to cue it up here. We were kind of talking about it. This is absolutely legendary. We were doing this is I think 2 years ago, and Brian Pointer was our host for Sports Show Live and did a tremendous job. Brian is just one of the best, and I mean that on a national level. He's really good at what he does. Yeah. So he was our host, and we decided to interview Twiggy, the flying squirrel, or the skiing squirrel.
Water skiing squirrel. Yeah.
So Don, our talent wrangler, brings Twiggy over, and the handler's there. And in this clip, you'll hear a voice, a high-pitched, squeaky voice. And what it is, we gave the handler's wife a microphone, and Brian did an interview with the squirrel. And that was kind of cute. That was funny. But at the very end of the interview, there's an old saying, never work with children or animals. You're going to see why. This is a 1-minute clip of Brian Pointer's maybe not his best day in radio or in television.
I've trained my whole life for this moment right here. I couldn't be any more proud. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Twiggy, the water skiing squirrel. Twiggy! I'm awestruck. I ask people all the time, who do you want to meet? Who do you want to fish with that you haven't? Who do you want to hunt with?
There we go.
Okay,
I'm
how
so
long is it
excited
for?
making new friends.
Do I do something here?
Brian, this chair is very comfortable. Is it okay? Am I too close? Is this all right?
Oh, no. We don't need any.
Go ahead and grab her.
Hello? Hello?
She is.
There we go. There I go. Bye.
Do grab her.
Oh, dang it.
Nothing can go wrong. It's live TV.
Brian's quicker than I thought.
You are a rangy little Twiggy. It is the 65th annual Ford Boat Sport and Travel Show. I'm just awestruck here. I'm going to have to calm down a little bit. I have seen and met and talked to Twiggy, the water skiing squirrel. I think I got avoided. Oh no, I didn't. I thought
She
I
left you a
avoided.
present.
She left me a little present,
It's an autograph.
and it's a lot of crap. That's enough for the Indianapolis Boat Sport and Travel Show. It's Indy Sports Show Live. I'm Brian Pointer, your host. We got a full day tomorrow. How could it get any better than Twiggy, the water skiing squirrel?
I think Brian was about over the squirrel at that point.
Yeah. I'm just so glad it didn't get any further than the end table.
Well, what you can't see is that's where our control booth was, which all of our electronics and several of us. And all I could think was we have, it's a rack of gear. And all I could think was that squirrel gets into the rack, gets electrocuted. There's a screaming and horror and children running. And
We make national news.
And we make
Yeah.
national news.
And-
We
yeah.
killed the water skiing squirrel.
Yeah.
So, Ben, this is what you're in for.
Well, I'm thrilled. I hope we can elevate or not, from here. I'm not sure how many of those small animals we can interview and if Brian's going to come back, but,
Probably not.
We'll start working on that ASAP. So I appreciate the strong start.
Well, I think we could tell stories literally all night, but I think we've hit some of the high points, and it's time for Ben to go to work now, and it's time for me to prop my feet up on the desk and actually get back to work with Guns Magazine and work my normal, day. But it's great that Ben is taking this over. I'm truly deeply excited. I'm honored that he felt this was a project worth continuing, and he's putting his efforts into it. And I really think you're going to see even better things from Wild Indiana. So I made a list of folks. Oh my goodness, it's so long, but real quickly, humor me. Let me read this. I'd like to thank Alan Garbers, Bill Takash, Brandon Butler, Brian Waldman, Brian Pointer, Brody McWilliams, my brother Chad, Carl Benko, Doug Mark, Jason Young, John Martino, Lake Bame, Laura Kernodle, Phil Bloom, Phil Junker, Rick Bramwell, Rod Rose, Mike Schoenveld, Scott Arvin, Scott Weaver, Tom Berg, Trent Marsh, and Zach Jumps. And of course, Don Cranfill, you've been my partner in crime for the last several years. And
Known associate.
yeah. And I think the warrants have expired, so I do believe we can go back to Du Bois County. So in all seriousness, it's been, I appreciate your efforts. Your hourly rate probably works out to negative 0.00001 cent. It's been a labor of love for me, and you've also taken that labor of love with you and really helped what we're doing here. So I will say, for the very last time, I'm Brent Wheat, publisher of Wild Indiana. And with that, it is now official. Ben, it's yours. You can take us out.
Thank you, Brent. You've given me an honor by, one, entertaining my offer to take it over, and two, allowing us to go ahead and execute that. So just thank you in general. And two, what you've built here is extraordinary. You're giving me a massive leg up. I'm not starting from scratch. We're starting with a community of committed, I guess you would say, fans, readers, viewers, listeners, however you want to look at it. But this has already been built. So my task is to move forward, and any credit that I deserve will be earned later, right? So this is just where we start. But so I don't need to talk long here, and need to step in and start to get to work and kind of live up to the legacy that you've already established. There's not much more to say except to move forward, and please continue to visit Wild Indiana and get excited about what happens next. You may or may not have seen the last of Brent Wheat. If I can twist his arm once in a while, to do a comeback tour, then then you'll see it. And I have a feeling that Don is going to continue to be a fixture in the community. So all of those things we can look forward to, and give me a couple seconds to get my footing, and then we're going to go from there. But I'm thrilled, I'm honored, and I'm proud to be the publisher and editor of Wild Indiana, and that's where we're going to start.
Well, on behalf of publisher Ben Shadley and Don Cranfill, I'm Wild Indiana writer Brent Wheat. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and you'll see more soon. Good night.